If you grew up as the family scapegoat, you didn't just feel wrong. You were trained to feel wrong. You learned very early that peace in the house depended on you managing yourself. Your tone, your reactions, your questions. You felt the atmosphere change when you walked into a room. You knew exactly which topics would set someone off, and you twisted yourself into shapes trying not to trigger anything. Now you're an adult, and the setting's changed, but the feeling hasn't. A minor disagreement at work, and you're flooded with guilt. A friend goes quiet, and your brain starts writing apology speeches. You can have evidence you've done nothing wrong and still feel like you're in trouble. That isn't random. That's training. Toxic families don't just run on big explosive moments. They run on quiet, repetitive rules that tell you who you're allowed to be. In this video, we're going to name the 10 scapegoat rules many of you were raised on and how they trained you to see yourself as the problem. Not because you were, because that's the role the system needed you to carry. In a healthy family, rules are about safety and mutual respect. They're spoken out loud. They apply to everyone and they can be questioned. In a dysfunctional family, rules do something very different. They protect the image of the family and the comfort of the most powerful person. They're almost never written down. They're enforced through looks, mood swings, silent treatment, and comparisons. If you were the scapegoat, you lived inside a specific set of those rules. You were the one who noticed what was off. You reacted, you protested, you refused to swallow certain things. Instead of anyone asking, what is this child reacting to? The system treated your reaction as the core problem and built rules around containing you. So from the outside, the rules looked like respect your parents and keep the peace. From the inside, they sounded more like never make us uncomfortable. And if we feel bad, it's your fault. Look at how those rules were actually installed. Children don't learn rules from speeches. They learn them from patterns. You get praised when you smooth things over or apologize, even if you were the one hurt. You get punished or frozen out when you speak up. You watch a sibling break the rules you get crucified for and walk away with a shrug and a joke. You learn what's safe from what happens next, not from what people say. Often, nobody ever said, don't talk about what happens in this house. They just went cold every time you tried. Or you heard some version of, we don't talk about what happens in this house. Don't air our dirty laundry. Anytime you told the truth outside the front door. Nobody said your feelings are the problem. They just rolled their eyes, called you dramatic, told you you're too sensitive, or made a family joke out of your reactions. After a few years of that, you no longer need them to enforce the rules. You enforce them on yourself. You cut off your own sentences. You scan everyone's faces. You apologize first. That's why we're going to put words to the rules today. Once they're named, you can start to see what was training and what was actually you. These won't match every family word for word, but if you were the scapegoat, you'll recognize the shape. Rule 1, we don't talk about what actually happened. Anything serious was minimized, denied, or turned into a joke. If you tried to describe the yelling, the drinking, the insults, someone cut you off. Stop exaggerating. We're not getting into this again. Don't talk about what happens in this house. Don't air our dirty laundry. The training? Your perception is dangerous. Silence is safer than honesty. Rule 2, your feelings are not the problem. Translation? Your perception is dangerous. Silence is safer than honesty. Your training? Your perception is dangerous. Silence is safer than honesty. Rule 2, your feelings are the problem, not our behaviour. If you cried, you were too sensitive. If you got angry, you were aggressive, ungrateful, or had anger issues. The focus never stayed on what was done to you. It swung back to how you reacted. Your training? You learn to doubt your own emotional reality, and apologising becomes a reflex. Rule 3, you must manage our reactions. You knew which parent you had to tiptoe around, which subjects were off limits, which tone would set them off. If they exploded, The postmortem was about what you said, not their lack of control. The training? You become hyper-attuned to other people's moods and believe that preventing their outburst is your job. Rule 4. Loyalty means protecting the image, not the person. You were told to keep family business in the family. Any attempt to tell a teacher, a relative, or a friend what was really going on was framed as betrayal. How dare you make us look bad? From the outside, it probably looked like a close family. Holidays, photos, social media posts. On the inside, that closeness depended on how willing you were to keep quiet. The training? Protecting other people's reputations becomes more important than protecting your own well-being. Rule 5. If someone's upset, you fix it, even if they hurt you. The rule was simple. If Mum cried, you comforted her, no matter what she'd just said. If Dad sulked, you're expected to be the one to smooth it over. Other people's distress automatically outranked yours, especially if you were the good daughter or good son. Your job wasn't just to behave. Your job was to keep the adults from falling apart. Your training? You move towards the person who hurt you to make them feel better, and you call that repair. Rule 6. Gratitude is mandatory. Accuracy is optional. You were reminded constantly of what you should be grateful for. A roof over your head, food, clothes, opportunities. If you pointed out what was wrong, you were reminded that other kids have it worse and told how lucky you were. Any attempt to name what was missing or harmful was framed as ingratitude. The training? You feel guilty for noticing harm if the family looks good on paper. You start editing your reality to match the gratitude story. Rule 7, you don't say no. If you tried to set a boundary, you were called selfish, dramatic, or disrespectful. Requests from you were demands. Requests from others were needs. The training? The word no sits in your throat. You override your body to avoid being seen as the problem. Rule 8, if there's conflict, it's your fault. Arguments between other people somehow circled back to you. Your attitude is tearing this family apart. We didn't fight like this until you started speaking up. Your training? You internalize the idea that your existence creates tension. So you work double time to make everything smooth. Being the one who fixes things feels like your role, not a choice. Rule 9. We rewrite events to protect the story. Things that were clearly hurtful later got reframed. That's not how it happened. We were only joking. You know your memory isn't great. Over time, the official family version drifts further from what you remember. The training? You learn to override your own memory to avoid conflict, and you become reluctant to trust your recall at all. Rule 10. If you pull away, you're the abuser. Any attempt to step back, limit contact, or protect yourself was called abandonment, punishment, or emotional abuse. They gave you everything, and this is how you repay them? You're breaking your mother's heart. After everything we've done for you. The training? You associate self-protection with cruelty and stay in situations that are clearly costing you. If you're ticking many of these, that's not a personality inventory. That's a map of how your family trained you to carry their discomfort. If you're ticking many of these, that's not a personality inventory. That's a map of how your family trained you to carry their discomfort. Living under these rules shapes you long after you leave the house. You enter relationships already assuming you'll be the one at fault when things go wrong. You over-explain yourself, send long texts justifying simple decisions, and apologize in advance for having needs. In conflict, your body might react as if you're back in that family lounge room. Heart racing, brain fog, sudden urge to give in just to get it over with. You're not responding only to the person in front of you. You're responding to years of training that said, do whatever it takes to not be the problem. You might find yourself attracted to people who feel familiar, people who are happy for you to carry more of the emotional labor, more of the blame, more of the repair. That's not because you enjoy suffering. It's because part of you still thinks this is just who I am in a group. I'm the one who fixes it. You don't see this as conditioning. You call it overreacting, having issues, being too sensitive. because that's what you were told every time the rules got broken. If you were the eldest or raised to be the good daughter or good son, a lot of this won't even feel like rules. It'll feel like your entire job description. Recognizing the rules doesn't magically undo the impact, but it does something important. It stops you calling the training your nature. Here's what this all comes down to. You weren't born thinking your feelings were dangerous. You weren't born scanning the room for tension. You weren't born believing that saying no makes you cruel. Those were lessons. Somebody can teach you a rule. You can also decide as an adult that you're done obeying it. You don't have to confront your whole family tomorrow to start breaking the training. You can begin quietly, inside your own head. When you feel the urge to apologize for existing, you can ask, which rule is this? When you feel guilty for telling the truth in therapy or with a trusted friend, you can remind yourself, that's rule 4 talking, image over reality. When you're tempted to rush in and fix someone else's feelings, you can pause and check, is this actually my job or is this rule 5? The goal isn't to become reckless or unaccountable. It's to stop being the only person in the room carrying accountability. You weren't trained to be a better person. You were trained to be useful to a system that refused to examine itself. Your family's rules didn't reveal your true character. They revealed how far the system was willing to go to keep you in the role of the problem, even when you were the clearest evidence that something was wrong.